By this shall men know that you're my disciples, that you show love one to another. When is the last time you served somebody when you knew you were not going to get a return? There is a difference between being a servant and a slave. A servant chooses, a slave has to. When's the last time you did something that was not commanded or demanded of you, but a spirit of servanthood? That's why he calls his preachers ministers, that we are not lords, we are not cattlemen, we are not kings and hierarchical, but we are servants, we are ministers. That's why he gave us a towel and not a sword. God did not leave me with a sword or a staff or a mitre or a scepter. He left me with a towel. Who do I serve? Hebrews 12:28, wherefore we receiving a kingdom which cannot be moved, let us have grace whereby we may serve God. Acceptability with reverence and godly fear. Psalm 2:11, serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling. I can do that. A is God. Lord, I want to serve you. I want to please you. What do you want me to go? Where do you want me to go? Where do you want me to live? Do you want me to live and take a vow of poverty? Do you need me in India? Do you need me in Africa? Do you need me to feed the homeless in Houston? Do you need me to volunteer at an AIDS hospice? Do you need me to raise somebody's child that died of some terrible disease? What do you need me? Where do you need me to serve? I get nervous when our services are all about us. I get uneasy when our prayer meetings are all about us. I get uneasy when the prayer request is all about us. Where did the old days of praying all night for the lost go? Where are the days when it was nothing about you? It had nothing to do with your children, had nothing to do about your job, your body, your money. It had to do with other things, because the Spirit of the Lord in you, God was using you to serve a purpose, to fulfill his purpose on the earth today. Spirit of surrender. I don't really have any problem with God. But then B, Mark 10:43, and so shall it not be among you, but whosoever will be great among you shall be your minister. Say servant, not your preacher, your servant. And whosoever of you will be the chiefest shall be the servant of all. How did Jesus signify this? He signified it by lowering himself to wash the feet of his disciples. It's not like today where we took a bath and we've got on nice socks and we have on Dr. Scholl's insoles and we have baby powder in our shoes. No, he was signifying, I will take the grime and the dust and the dirt and the little pebbles and broken parts of the rock that have got in your toenails and got in between your toes. I will take and I will bathe you. I will submit myself, because the lowest servant in the household was the one that cleaned the chamber pot and the one that washed the master's feet. The lowest level of the servanthood on the totem pole is the one that would wash your dirty feet. Jesus said, even though you call me master, even though you call me Lord, I will submit myself to become the lowest. What would happen in this room? What would happen in our nation? What would happen in our denominations and around the world if a spirit of servanthood would come upon us? If we could humble ourselves and we say, I want to be exalted, and the only way up is down. The only way to succeed is to serve. Clap your hands unto the Lord. Job, bear you one another's burdens and fulfill the law of Christ. Galatians 5:13 said, for brethren, you have been called unto liberty for an occasion to the flesh, but by love serve one another. The problem I have is not with God. It's serving my brother, because it seems at times he has more than me. It seems at times that they don't appreciate me. It seems at times they might even like me. They may not even acknowledge me. You've got to remember, it's not about me. It's not about you. It's not about how I feel that you're responding. It's about my attitude. It's about the brokenness. A broken and contrite spirit, oh God, thou wilt not despise. I surrender. I submit. But I cannot know how surrendered I am until I am tested with a level of servitude. You say, oh pastor, I submit. We'll know if you submit, because when the toilets overflow, it's the people sitting on the pews waiting on the people that you call with the shop vacs to come in and help. Or it might be the board member or the little lady, 80 years old, that goes and gets a mop and goes in the bathroom. Nobody's paying me for this. Nobody's noticing this. Pastor's up preaching and nobody even cares. But I got to take care of this because there may be visitors here and I don't want them to be embarrassed. I don't want anything to keep them from coming to the house of God. So I'm going to be able to serve. I'm going to humble myself. I'm going to submit myself because it's not about me. Remember, it's not about who we're paying. Oh, I know it's brother so-and-so's job. I know so-and-so ought to do this. I know somebody should unlock the door. I know somebody ought to clean the kitchen. But you know what? It hadn't been done and I'm a part of this body. So I must be the somebody that God's calling right now. So I'm going to serve and submit myself. Am I making sense? John 21 and Matthew 25 tells us a total different perspective. When is the last time that you served the lost? This generation does not care how much you know until they know how much you care. When is the last time you fed somebody without preaching to them? You visited to somebody without inviting them. You listened to somebody without preaching to them. You encourage somebody that when they are doing well will have no benefit to you. And you simply serve the lost. The greatest evangelist or single voice in the last 100 years, as far as a messenger of Christianity, across denominational guidelines, across boundaries. I don't care what your philosophy or denomination is. Let's just talk about effect. Was a little woman by the name of Mother Teresa. I lived in Calcutta. I've been to her orphanages. I've been to the house of the dying. I've seen the dying lepers. I've smelt the stench. When she was in the hospital just a few months before she died, I went to visit her and she was not there. She was in the hospital, but they let me go in her room. I did go in Mother Teresa's room. I didn't get to meet with her, but I went in her room. You didn't just see her on People magazine. You just didn't read her book. But Mother Teresa had a metal bed, a porcelain bowl, and a picture. A black and white picture of her family, a rosary, 4 saris hanging on a rack. A picture of the Pope, some other pictures, the Virgin Mary, other things that she had, things there. A wooden chair, and I think it was, I can't remember, rocking chair, whatever. It was so meager. Painted walls. She lived equal to the rest of her nurses and those that helped there. I stood there and I wept because I have not affected the world. I drive gorgeous luxury cars. I eat in the finest of restaurants, and I'm not preaching against that. I have been raised in a culture where God and the people of God have been so good to me. And I wept because her order heals, loves, feeds, and nurtures, and refuses to preach. And yet when she died, the nation, a Hindu nation, honored her as their mother. Do you understand what I'm saying? I find articles and things that she preached to us, but I never find her coming against Hinduism. I never find her raiding against the Indian government, coming through different regimes and different wars or whatever. I never find that. But I find a woman who practiced what she preached, and one woman who chose to be a servant and raise up other servants, literally shaped and changed a part of the world. And I know it's clamping on people say, oh my Lord, Brother Super, you mean? I'm telling you to show honor where honor is due. Agree with some of her philosophy or not, her life had fruit that remains. What about you? When's the last time you served somebody, nurtured somebody, loved somebody, empowered somebody that was lost without trying to proselyte them, lure them, seduce them, bribe them into coming, manipulate them to coming into your group, your creed, or your building? Lord, I pray that a spirit of servitude would come. The next, and that certainly not least, is the lost art of sacrifice. In your notes, I want you to write sacrifice, the act of offering. If it's not inconvenient, it's not sacrifice. Jesus said to the rich young ruler, if thou wilt be perfect, go and sell that thou hast, give to the poor, and thou shalt have treasure in heaven, and come and follow me. Is that what everybody's supposed to do? No. It was the greatest sacrifice that he could do. If it is not sacrifice, it is not an acceptable offering. What would happen if just tomorrow a spirit of